As you can see on the screen, I would like to basically delay at the end, till the end, the questions and answers, because we have very interesting presentations that are going to be presented by, our international part, which is going to be talking about the importance of certification. That will be basically presented by Mr. Harrison Chip McKee and Mr. Paul Bishop. I will introduce them separately at a later stage. Then we're going to be going to talk about the utility operator and manager training opportunities, which our Dr. Ken Carey will be also presenting that. Dr. Ken Carey is a well-known professor from California State University of Sacramento. Thirdly, we're going to go and talk about a successful story about the operation, training, and certification as a new approach to excellence. This is about the Jordan certification program that will be presented by Engineer Abdurrahman Omari. And finally, we're going to be hearing from His Excellency Secretary General Engineer Khaldoon Khashman, who will be telling us about ACWUA mission to promote and implement the certification in the region. So, with no further delay, please join me in welcoming Mr. Harrison Chip McKee for the presentation.
Thank you. I'd really like to thank the Arab Countries Water Utilities Association and His Excellency, the Secretary General, for inviting ABC here to present. It's a wonderful honor. We really appreciate the privilege to do this. And secondly, I'd like to apologize for the way I'm dressed. I know it's very informal, but my luggage is still in Amsterdam, and they promised me that it will be here tonight.
Mine is so big, otherwise I will give it to you.
I was able to borrow a tie, but fortunately this will not affect my talk, although, or maybe unfortunately, depending on your point of view. So, I'm going to talk about the importance of certification and how we do it in North America. Oh, did I go one too far? Yes. Certification is something that's been around the United States for almost 100 years now for water and wastewater utilities. The program's developed over time. It was certainly recognized early on the importance of water and wastewater utilities. You can't have any economic development. Population centers don't exist without water and wastewater facilities. Public safety, most water systems in the United States were developed after a major fire back in the 1700s and 1800s. We developed the first public water systems, protect the environment, the health and safety of our citizens. Throughout the years, we've developed more and more technologies, and we spent a great deal in developing these things. The designs are just incredible now, from the very small systems. There were some presentations earlier this afternoon on small-scale desalination plants, all the way up to major surface water treatment plants. The one thing that has been missing in many facilities is the operation of the facilities. Here's a quote from an engineer that was involved in the founding of ABC. Operation is a condition of design. Without the intended operation, the design is not complete. It is essential that competent operation be guaranteed. I think that says it all. We've got to assure that all these systems are being operated properly. Proper system operations assures public health and safety, that the environment is protected, that our financial investments are protected. We've invested an incredible amount of money in infrastructure for water and wastewater systems. Even for a very small system, a very small community, it may be only a few $1,000s, but that is a large investment for that community, and it is important for them to protect it. We protect these investments by operating the utilities efficiently, maintaining them, and operating them safely. And of course, we want to comply with the applicable standards for the water systems. So we rely on qualified operations personnel to ensure that the public health and the environment are protected and our investments are being properly cared for and maintained. The operator of all these systems, they have to be vigilant, excuse me. They have to pay attention. They've got to know what they're doing. They have to understand their system. They have to understand the various operational components of their system, the condition of their system. Are there areas of the system that need to be looked at more closely, need extra maintenance to be maintained, need to be replaced or upgraded? Maintenance, we all know the importance of that. Must know the limitations and the problems within the systems to be able to explain it to the engineers that may come, the public, the managers, to know what can and can't happen. They have to know the regulations, both locally and internationally for what they have. They must be able to communicate effectively to their managers, to the public, to the regulators, and they must be able to work safely and efficiently. The operator must understand the importance and accept the responsibility and demands of the multiple tasks associated with the job. It struck me, listening to some of the excellent presentations that we've heard here today and yesterday, that there were some wonderful projects that you can all take back to your water systems and implement and do things, but you really can't do those unless you have really good people to do that, people that understand why they're doing what they do. That's one of the most important things that an operator can bring your system, is the understanding of the importance of the little tasks that they do and what the consequences might be of not doing them correctly. When we think about the operators, their knowledge and skills are great. They need to know a little about a lot of things. They have to have the physical ability to do the work. There has to be knowledge of hydrology, watershed management and protection we've heard about today, some of the business aspects and financial aspects, a little bit about mathematics. They've got to be able to do the calculations for their dosing for the chemicals, the hydrologies. They have to know sciences. They have to have mechanical skills, be able to repair pumps, valves. They have to be able to communicate, again, with the public, with you, their supervisors. Depending on their level of the water system, they have to have supervisory skills. Laboratory skills, we're continually monitoring the water systems and wastewater systems to show that they're doing what they should be doing. People skills, the operators are the ones that are out there in the community interacting with the public, with your customers, and they need those skills to be able to explain what they're doing, what you're doing, and what you're trying to do. And lastly, they need to know how to work safely. The water and wastewater industry are dangerous industries. There are many injuries throughout the world for people working in water wastewater industry. The hazards, I just listed a few of them here, but there are electrical hazards throughout the utility, chemical hazards if they're handling chemicals, confined spaces, biohazards in wastewater, traffic if they're working out in distribution or collection systems. In the streets, traffic is important, and trenching, digging, and I'm sure some of you can come up with others. So there are a great many knowledge and skills that these people need. So the question is, where do you get the people you need to operate your water system? We've got a trainer back in New Hampshire, in the United States, where I work and live. And one of his sayings is, operators are not born, they are trained. We don't just get these people off the street. And as far as training is concerned, Dr. Carey will be talking about training in a few minutes, so I won't say any more about that. But really, how can we be sure that the person is capable of doing what we want them to do? And I hold that is certification. Basically, what is certification? Certification verifies that the operator has a minimum level of knowledge, education, and experience to do a reliable job to the expected standards. It doesn't mean that the operator knows everything that he needs to know when you hire him, but he does have a baseline ability to learn what you need to teach him, that he can learn about his system, he knows the basics, he has a science, math background to understand the basics of operating a water or wastewater utility at the level you're hiring him at. And we can presume that he has the ability to learn, to be trained for what you need him to know for that. So a certification program, in a nutshell, confirms the competence of the workforce by evaluating the individuals that are in the workforce. Certification program evaluates experience of the individuals, the education of the individuals, their knowledge. We give them an exam to make sure that they have a certain level of knowledge. It evaluates their training, and certification programs also have a recertification component to them, which assures that the individual stays current and stays up. So a recertification generally has requirements to have continuing training throughout their career to maintain their certification. I think one of the real benefits of certification program, in addition to ensuring that the operators are competent, but it raises the professionalism of the operator. It recognizes the operator. It gives the operators pride and prestige. It makes them feel good about themselves. It also inspires confidence in your consumers that the people out there working are held to a higher standard, that their public health is being protected, that these people do know what they're doing. And it inspires confidence for you in the utilities, that you can leave your utility and come to a conference like this and learn more things to go back, but that while you're gone, your operators are doing the job that you know needs to be done and that they know needs to be done. And it also inspires confidence in you that you can take some of these programs maybe you've heard about this week and take them back, and that you have the people that can do that work. There are basically two types of certification programs. In closing, there are mandatory and voluntary programs. The voluntary programs will be done by associations, such as Arab Countries Water Utilities Association. Mandatory ones in the US and Canada are done by some of the state governments. Some of them are done by utilities. Some governmental programs require people to have voluntary certifications, and others, it's just the utility requires that all of their operators become certified. I have a few utilities in my jurisdiction that when they hire somebody, they give that individual 2 years to become certified as a condition of maintaining employment. Basically, throughout the US and Canada, we have a mixture of both voluntary and mandatory certification programs. And again, as I said, they can be administered by governmental agencies or by an association. And with that, I guess I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. 40 years ago, a group of individuals, a group of men came together with the thought of creating a standardization or a process by which certification, we could create consistency and efficiency within certification programs. Within the United States and North America, a number of those programs were very isolated and different from each other. And the hope was that by coming together, we could create standardization and consistency between those. And with the Safe Drinking Water Act that was passed in the United States in 1972, with that, and with the help of men like Dr. Ken Carey, the Association of Boards of Certification was born. Today, ABC represents over 100 certification, both mandatory and voluntary, as Chip represented, around the globe, internationally, mostly in North America, but now we're, as you know, we're branching out and reaching it throughout the world, including the Middle East. We find that very important, as we are an organization that embraces certification and water certification throughout the world. We believe that water isn't so different from one country to another, that we shouldn't all have some likeness and consistency with the way we certify operators, those people on the front lines. Specifically, the Association of Boards of Certification, or ABC, has worked as a facilitator within the certification industry to promote a number of industry initiatives to better certification programs and the operators they serve. Currently, the initiatives at the forefront of our work. One is best practices. The best practices is a program that is designed to create, again, standardization and a model program for all certification programs. Hopefully, giving certification programs a bar in which they can meet or exceed certification standards. It's understanding that maybe not all certification programs will be able to meet it due to political or other considerations, but a hope that this is a standard with which was created by the industry, was peer created by the industry, people within the industry created the certification and the model, and thereby it has credibility for all programs, whether in North America or throughout the world. In addition, the Operator Summit, Journeyman Apprenticeship, and Professional Designation all relate to the operator, the water, wastewater operator, and how we can eliminate barriers to entry into this field, how we can create sustainable systems for operators to begin into it and move through it and find quality in their work. The professional designation is another component of that, which also discusses, which I'll go into in a little bit further, which talks about the individually recognizing the operator as more than just a tradesman, but as a professional, as a career, as a potential career opportunity for water, wastewater operators. And then last, our nationally recognized exams. Our exams have been recognized. We are creating new exams that are psychometrically sound. That means they go through a very stringent process of being evaluated by peers and by others outside of our industry to look at and make sure that they are fair to the operator, that they are valid, that they are based on the need-to-know criteria for operators that is current, and also that they are legally valid and would withstand any challenge. When we look at the operator and we look at certification programs, we're considering a number of things, as Mr. Chip mentioned. We look at education, and as part of the best practice initiative, we are looking at education across all different jurisdictions and programs to find out what is a good or model education level. We also look at experience, and so that when we look at certification, what is a good amount of certification experience we should require from an operator to go from a level 1 to a level 2 to a level 3 to ultimately a level 4. And then, as I mentioned, the exam. The exam is a component by which we assess an operator's competency or minimum competency that they... Unexpected.
This is not certified, by the way.
Is that my warning that I exceeded my time? And so we talk about the exam as a very key component in the certification process of an operator, but it is just one, because from there we have continuing education, which Dr. Carey will talk about, and the professional development. How do we take these operators who protect our systems and take them to the next level through development, through a continued measured process in developing them? The professional operator is where we are looking at our next initiative. For too long, we believe, water operators have been viewed, or not necessarily respected or revered within their communities, within their jurisdictions. And we view them as the front line of our public health system. They're essential, as Mr. Chip mentioned, in ensuring that our public health, and we ask so much of them of what they need to know to do our systems. You, in the role you play, also expect a lot of them. So through this process, we are looking at how does continuing education affect the professionalism? How does their training, so that we ensure that training is not just going to a seminar, but it is actually taking back information that they will make them a better operator, make them a contributor to their community. Professional development is part of that, where we ask of the operator, what is it you need to be a better operator, to be a better supervisor, to be a better person in so much as how that affects you in your profession and get reward out of your career. And then most importantly, a code of ethics or a code of conduct so that that is enforceable, so that if it is violated, their certification can be or will be repealed. We believe that's a very important component, that all operators be held to that code of ethics. As an organization, as a member organization similar to ACWUA, ABC is member-driven. We believe strongly that we listen to our members. We listen to those of you who are and be through ACWUA or actually will be our members, and we'll discuss that more. But there are many benefits to this, as we have now an international global presence, which we hope to bring forth in more ways and more opportunities. We have an annual conference where we've had participants from here join us and lend their expertise to us and their experience, because we have as much to learn. We may have been doing a little while longer, but we still have a lot to learn from those who are just doing it. We have a number of publications, and most importantly, we believe what we call networking opportunities, opportunities for our members and for those around to talk, share experiences, and we create opportunities for people to share those experiences and learn from each other. I think we all agree that tends to be the way we learn best, and from conferences like this where we share like practices and or experiences with each other. And opportunities to be involved, and what that means to be involved and have just an opportunity to be, whether it be through our committee process, where we discuss a number of initiatives that I discussed, or whether it be part of our exam development and or certification development, where we oversee right now 9 different certifications. Our 4 core certifications being water, wastewater, distribution, and collection. And with that part of the recognition, we are pleased to announce that we do have we have 3 specifically programs who have now joined us, and we are most recently over this last Saturday, we're pleased to announce that ACWUA, the Arab Countries Water Utilities Association, was accepted into the ABC family of international programs as a regulatory member, and ACWUA has all voting and has all rights as any other member and voting rights, and has the opportunity to participate in ABC as a full member. And with that, it is my pleasure and extreme honor to invite His Excellency, the Secretary General of ACWUA, President Mackey, to present ACWUA's membership certificate.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is a big deal. That's a big honor for us as well. I hope you understand that is something we revere as well, that you would want to be a part of our family and that we have an opportunity to share with you in partnership that. And so as I conclude, ABC views our relationship with ACWUA, Jordan, and others in Egypt as a partnership. We believe we can be a resource to you as you're a resource to us, and in partnership together, we can bridge those gaps, share our experiences, and hopefully build a better world through water, environment, and certification programs that not only builds a better certification program, but ultimately ensures our public health and the safety of future generations and of our water environment. And so with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for Mr. Chip McKee, President, ABC, Associates Board of the Certification, USA, and also thank you to Paul Bishop, the CEO for ABC USA. Thank you for giving us the international exposure and the international experience. And at this point, I would like to call on Dr. Ken Carey. Dr. Ken Carey is a well-known scholar and a professor of civil engineering and a consultant to the Office of Water program at the University of Sacramento in California. He also is considered the father of certification, and I will give the floor to Dr. Carey to tell us about certification.
Okay, now how do I advance it? Okay, all right. Okay, very good, okay. Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you again. It's a real pleasure for me to present this paper along with my colleague, Dr. Ramzi Mahmood, who is the director of the Office of Water Programs. He's chair of the Department of Civil Engineering, and he's also working with UNESCO on graduate environmental programs in Iraq. So we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the training programs that we have for operators and also for managers of utilities. There are many benefits from operator and managers being trained, and we try and help people do what they need to know, what they're expected to do their job. And the facilities, when they are run by trained operators and managers, operate in a very effective manner. They have good preventive maintenance programs, and they protect the facilities so that they will be sustained for as long as possible, so they don't wear out too soon, and so you can maintain the warranties. Very important is that with trained operators and managers, their safety programs and the crews, the workforce, is able to recognize safety hazards and work in a very safe manner. Ultimately, what we're all trying to do is protect the public health and the environment. The evolution of training programs in the U.S., it really started with professional associations just like this one. The operators and managers wanted to learn how to do their job. They formed professional associations. They got together, as like Paul Bishop said, they networked, they shared the ideas, they identified their problems, they said, how can we solve the problems? They worked together, and so it was the professional associations that really started the operator and manager training programs. Community colleges saw the opportunity to develop young people and introduce them to the profession so that when they graduated from a community college, they were employable and they could go to work for a utility. Many utilities, there just wasn't any training available, so they developed their own training programs. They had their senior operators and superintendents train the workforce as they hired them on what they wanted them to do, what they needed them to do. We developed distance learning because there are many operators and managers in remote areas. They couldn't attend classes, so they had to be able to have distance learning so they could study at home at a convenient pace to learn how to do their job. And so it started out as correspondence type courses. Then with the advent of computers, why there were courses on DVDs, there were videos, and there were online courses, so that there are many ways for operators and managers to get the training they need today. What happened when we got started in the business was that the operators came to the university and they said, there are books on how to pass certification exams, but there are not books on how to do their job. We need a textbook training material on how to do our job. And our response was, well, you're out in the field, you're doing the work, you know how to do it. It's a matter of us working together. You're the subject matter experts. You've got to put together the program, and we'll help you so that people that go through the program will know how to do their job, know what you expect them to do. So the operators, Paul Bishop mentioned, need to know criteria. That's the basis for certification. That's also the basis for training. And it comes from what we call subject matter experts, experts in the field that are actually working in the field. So we worked together and developed the training material, And when we developed our training materials, we had teams of subject matter experts or technical experts. We got together with the best people in the business and said, help us put together this team and the training program that you need for your own program, so that everybody was working together trying to help everybody with a good training program. Now, this is just kind of an overall picture of how we work in the USA, and there's little exceptions to it, but at the top, there's the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. You might say they're the agency that's responsible for drinking water and environmental protection. And they're involved in training, but also to some extent in certification. Then below the big U.S. EPA, there's 9 regions, and they focus on regional needs throughout the United States. You can see on the, actually it's on your left there, you see mandatory certification. In the United States, by and large, mandatory certification is for water treatment plant operators, water distribution, wastewater collection, and wastewater treatment. Now, not all wastewater collection operators are required to be certified. Some of it is done by professional associations. Then the voluntary certification, you see, would be done for industrial waste. Now, this is just sort of general. It's also done for laboratory, and it's also done for maintenance. So there's a difference between, like Paul mentioned, the mandatory certification and the voluntary, and it does vary from state to state, and sometimes it's administered by, usually the mandatory, by the state agency, a public health or environmental protection agency, and the professional associations do the voluntary, or what we call technical certification, for their members, so their members can document their competency and their ability to do their job. The funding of our training programs, with our programs, with the Office of Water Programs at California State University, Sacramento, the US EPA funded the development of the program, and that gave us the ability to work with people throughout the United States to put together the training program. The first one we did was for wastewater treatment plant operators, and it was so well accepted by the treatment plant operators that then the collection system people wanted one, then the water people wanted one for drinking water and distribution and industrial waste. But as the programs were developed, both the US EPA and the university promoted them throughout the United States, and we worked in cooperation with ABC and the certification agencies so that we were working together with training and certification. Today, we say that the Office of Water Program administers and monitors the program. In other words, we provide the program for the profession, we monitor how it's doing, and we try and keep it as current as possible. And it's on a financially self-sustaining basis. In other words, if you want to get trained, you have to pay for it. And so, in many ways, we're fortunate that we don't have to rely on government appropriations. We're a business, really a private business. It's just like Paul Bishop with his certification program. They're a business, and you have to operate as a business, provide a service for your members, which keeps you functioning financially on a self-sustaining basis. So here you see that our focus is on what people need to know to do their job. It's what Chip said when he talked about the knowledge, skills, and abilities. And people that come out of the program really have the ability to identify problems, select solutions to the problems, and evaluate these problems. It's really a very valuable part of the training program, where you step back after you've tried to solve a problem and say, have we picked the right solution? Is it effective? Is it doing a good job? Can we do a better job? So that's all part of the training program. The evolution of the training programs, like we started out in 1968 with the wastewater treatment plant operators. And after we got that program completed, the collection system people said, we want a program like that. And then after the collection system, why then the drinking water people said, we want it. And they went to the Environmental Protection Agency and said, please help the Office of Water Program with funding to develop these training programs. EPA saw the need for industrial waste operators to have a training program, so we developed that one. And the ultimate one, and this is one of my favorites, is utility management. EPA did not help us fund that program. What happened was that the operators were very successful. They learned how to do their job. They were technically very, very good. They got promoted, and then they needed supervisor and managerial skills. So they came to us and said, help us develop managerial training programs. In fact, the state of New York even came to us and put up money and got their best administrators and managers together for a week-long workshop. These were subject matter experts which developed the need-to-know criteria for managers. Other specialized disciplines of training that we have programs for small water systems and small wastewater systems. And these are very small villages, and it's a very, very difficult job. Usually it's one person in a remote area that has to know everything and do everything. And so we have special training programs for people in villages. Industrial pretreatment facility inspection, we have problems in the United States where there are large industries that develop toxic waste, hazardous waste, explosive waste, and sometimes they can get into the collection system, cause explosions, fires, corrosion, upset the treatment processes of the treatment plant. So that's why we developed what we call the Industrial Pretreatment Facility Inspection Program, where we worked with industries so that they would not discharge into the collection system something that was hazardous, something that was toxic, flammable, or explosive. Stormwater management in the United States, why one of the largest sources of uncontrolled pollution today is stormwater runoff. So we've developed programs for stormwater runoff, stormwater management, rain harvesting. We're looking at rainfall as a valuable source of water resources. Other disciplines that we work on, mechanical and electrical maintenance, and laboratories. So we try and cover all the disciplines in the water sector, the water utility field. Now, how do we keep our programs current? This is very important to us, and in many ways we're fortunate that because we have distance learning, we're in contact with all of the operators and managers that are in our programs, and they're raising questions. How do you do this? They're also telling us, this is how we do it. You ought to think about putting this into your material. So this is one way that we keep current, just by working with people that are in our program. Instructors teaching classes are also working with students and giving us good ideas.